All right, gang, we're here at Breakroom 86.
We're live. We're live, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you all coming out. We have two very special guests. One, Susan Ferris from Bohemia Group. She's someone I've got to know very well, boss, close friend, and the CEO of Bohemia Group. Come on up. Come on up.
Susan!
Another guest, Joel Gonzales. He's the CEO, who's in the bathroom, so we'll be patient and wait. All right.
There he is.
Yeah, can't be stopped. We're on a mission.
Just real quick, want to thank you all very much. I want to thank Breakroom 86 for having us. I've been working here for a few years now, promoting industry parties every Thursdays, just to bring community together, connect individuals. It's a real passion of mine, and to be able to do this here with these folks for our first live podcast show in this building, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. So thank you all for coming out and joining us. So I hope you all enjoy the show, and we'll get going. And after the show, we'll flip it into our industry mixer. And yeah, man, it's got good vibes. Feel free to make yourself comfortable during the show. And we'll have a ball. Appreciate y'all.
Let's get this rocking. So, for those who you don't know me, I'm Vinny, host of Who Is with Vinny Fiorenza. Show's been going on for a short amount of time. We just released our 8th episode yesterday. And my mantra, thank you guys, I appreciate it. My mantra is that there's a lot I don't know and there's a lot I want to know. And between this gang over here, we have over 50 years of experience in entertainment, and there's a lot that I could learn from these guys. I'm sure you guys could learn a lot too. Let's get to it. So, would you guys, one at a time, we'll start with Susan. Would you give them a little, what was that face about? You all right? All right, give you the floor. We need this. They need this.
I was hung up on the over 50 years of experience.
I was thinking more than that.
I'm 49 this year, so.
Hey, God bless you. God bless you, man.
I don't know.
now I
Combining
feel
all of us. No stress here. Yeah, don't pick on the little things. But so, Susan.
Yes.
Would you mind telling me a little bit about yourself, your history, and your company, Bohemia Group?
I started Bohemia Group back in 1992. I come from the world of rock and roll. And since 92, we've created a global management company and a production company. See, I'm keeping it simple.
Let's give it up for that, eh?
Joel, would you like to follow that up with,
Something simple.
Yes, I'm simple. I'm president of Nosotros, which was, look at you guys. We're the oldest Latino arts privacy organization in the country, founded by Ricardo Montalban in 1970. So we're about going on 53 years now, with the main purpose to really just, enhance the image of Latinos both in front of and behind the cameras, and just, for proper representation. We're an actors organization first and foremost. This is our year. It's cool to be Mexican. It's cool to be Latino again. You know what I mean? Bad Bunny, Peso Pluma out there. A huevo, exactly, bro. Exactly. And besides that, I'm a producer, a PGA member. I have a company called Untold Content. We have a development deal with Sony, and we're actually going to be producing one of our first projects with them. It's called Los Regionales, which is a love letter to the Mexican regional music scene and its global appeal. So we're pretty excited about that.
All right.
Wow, thank you. That's huge. So we'll get into it with everyone here. Like, just on a general, scale, like, what drew you guys to entertainment? I'm very curious about that. Like, tell us a little bit, Freddie. What drew you to the entertainment space?
Well, and just a brief intro. I'm Freddy Giorlando. I'm an actor and a producer. I've been acting for about a decade now. I got into producing roughly 6-7 years ago, when I realized me and my buddies, we were all, hungry actors that weren't getting the call from our team, which is all goodies. So we decided to produce a pilot of our own. We all acted in it. And we ended up getting into pitch meetings from this pilot that just came out of wanting to create. And that just shifted my mindset on, not waiting for anyone to, give the opportunity, just make it and create with your buddies. But yeah, what got me into the business, right? Or
of course.
the draw. I've always loved performing since I was younger. As an actor, just in general, I had no idea I was going to get into the business growing up. I grew up in Old Bridge, New Jersey. That's like a town away from Bruce Springsteen's hometown. So shout out the boss. But there wasn't a lot of artists in my town. It was very blue collar. So growing up, I never had influences around me or people that I could kind of draw inspiration from creatively. But I just had that in me. And then once I got into my early 20s and I really had to make a decision on what I wanted to do with my life because, I love my parents to death, but my father, he's a classic, typical Italian-American, old-school guy.
I know about those.
Every day he'd be like, so Fred, what are you doing with your life, Fred? What are you doing with your life? And Fred, what's going on? What are you doing with your life? So eventually I decided just to get into acting. I started at HB Studio in New York. And that, like I said, originally I just loved performing, and I made the decision that if I'm going to do something with the rest of my life, I have to enjoy doing it because to land the plane here, my father always said, if you're going to do something, especially in life, as long as you're happy, it's all good. So do something and be happy with it, and that's kind of why I went into this crazy industry we call show.
Nice, beautiful. Susan?
I got into, like rock and roll. I mean, there's that. I actually got into management by mistake. I used to write for a magazine called Thrasher. And I'd written an article about a band that I had seen, and they found me, and this is pre-internet, so they found me, knocked on my door, and said, hey, will you manage us? And I was like, how hard can it be? So really, truly, that's how I started in management. And in '92, when I started Bohemia, it was like, okay, probably I need to do more than bands. So I started working with actors again. How hard can it be? And realized that taking people on their journey was my journey, and that's where I've been to this day. And I'm 59. My parents still are like, so what do you do? Exactly. Yeah. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun taking, everybody's got their everybody's different. It's not a black or white thing, and so it's fun to sort of figure out what road to take and the best way to get them to where they want to go. So that's it.
Thank you. That's fantastic. Joel, what drew you to this crazy world?
Well, wow. It's like how much time do we got? No, kidding.
Yeah, right?
I grew up South Central, Watts area, and not that I had a lot of influence there in the arts or filmmaking or all that, but I was always a storyteller. I was always a daydreamer. All my report cards now, I have them that I say daydreamer. To eventually where that was the name of my first company, which I called it Think Dreamer Productions. Oh. And I was always just that kid that was just making up stories. So in high school, this actor named Phil Sims came to our school there at Jordan, and he started a group called Colors United. And which there was actually an Oscar-nominated documentary about the group Colors United. I had already moved on, but that was my first experience in theater production and writing, and it opened up my world. We did the Steinbeck Festival. I didn't know what Steinbeck was, but reading his books and then getting ready for these monologues and performing up there, it just opened up my world to there's more beyond Imperial Highway and Alameda, where I grew up. And after that, I got married. Well, I got married young because I had children young, and my life took a different route at that point because I had to provide for my family and had a lot of this 9-to-5 jobs. But just that passion for wanting to tell stories was always in me. A couple of attempts at LACC, Los Angeles City College, which I recommend. It's a great guerrilla filmmaking school to this day. I took a couple semesters there, still followed my passion, but still had to have that 9-to-5 job. So it wasn't really until my mid-30s that after I had a couple good jobs going, my older children were older, that I said, you know what, I'm gonna go out this full time. So I decided with a buddy of mine to go out and produce our first feature film. He was a writer director. I knew producing was my thing. I don't want to be anything more than a producer. I'm not a writer. I'm not a director. I know my lane. I thrive in that lane. And we did this small film called Followed Home, which to this date I still collect a residual check on. And we made that film for less than $2,000, and we sold it.
Wow.
So that was my first forte. I was like, okay, I think I can do this, And then since then have gone on to make about 24 films in my career, some under my own banner for hire. Most recently, I produced the documentary for HBO Max called Juice WRLD Into the Abyss. And Die Like a Man for Netflix, and a film that we just shot in Nashville called The Life of Me. Yeah.
Nice.
Love that. Wow. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we got some great stories. I guess I'll give you guys a little bit of background about myself real quick while I'm up here. But most of you know me, but for those of you who don't, from New York, and yeah, right there we go. And yeah, I actually in the entertainment space when I came out here in late 2019. I actually started in music, led me to actors, and I started working with Susan. And before all that, I got convinced to produce a movie, and turned into a lot. Got it distributed, and I'm looking to make a lot more movies, and all media across the board, including this podcast, and different versions of this podcast, including this first one tonight. Thank you guys. But yeah. Woo! So on the business side, I wanted to know, like, obviously with current events right now, there's only one question for that one, but how's the strike affecting your business? That's good.
I spend a lot of time just keeping people calm. That really is it. There's a lot of panic. This is not my first strike, or my second strike, or my third strike. But that really is it. It's really keeping people calm.
What happens after 3 strikes, though? Don't you go to jail?
That's a good
I only wish, right? And this strike is and I had actually made a comment to somebody the other day that this one I think is going to be a little different. I don't think it's going to last as long as the last one. It's going to be a little more aggressive, which I think we saw today, which is not good. But if you're an actor or a writer or a director, hit the picket lines and support and network, because it's better than an AA meeting, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
That's true. I mean, I'll add to that. First and foremost, as a producer, and Nosotros, we stand with the strike. We support the strike. We live in interesting times now. We have bots that can write scripts now. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of changes that need to happen, and the studio system, not only from the diversity side, but also from a compensation side, they need to be held accountable. There's a lot of people making money, and it's not always on this side of the line. So. It's important. I think it's important for it to take place, and it's an interesting year, right? Because we have the writer strike now. The Directors Guild contract is coming up next month or in a couple months.
So is SAGs.
So is SAG. So now's the time for them really to use that to these unions to take that, and leverage that and really hold these studios and streamers accountable. From a producing standpoint, I did have some 2 high-level projects in early development with some writers that, again, pens down. Respectfully, I agreed. Let's put pens down. But I do remember the last strike where it was the boom of reality, man. I mean, that's where we got reality TV from. Now, the early days of reality were not the greatest, but as a lot of producers out there made a lot of money, got a lot of projects. And if they were able to change with the time and improve the production value, some of those producers are still benefiting now. So what we've done with my company and with my reps at A3, we're pivoting. I have like 5 projects that are unscripted, a couple reality shows based on some music artists that I work with. So we just pivoted, and we're gonna go down the unscripted reality space for now, and while this strike takes place.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, that was extremely informative. No, it's nice that everyone here gets to know myself, Freddie, Susan, and Joel. With what you guys heard, does anyone have any questions? I'd love to get some questions from the group. If not, I could just keep drilling them out. But I actually can't see, so if anyone could shout out.
I could see somewhere, great. If anyone wants to raise their hand, no pressure. There we go.
Let's see another one.
Fran, what do you got?
Question for Susan.
Wait.
So you worked with a multitude of different artists in your career, you know, writers, actors, musicians. What are your favorite type of artists to work with? I won't ask you what's your least favorite. You know, I mean, you could answer the you know.
Okay, so my favorite people who I've ever met, well, I love everybody.
That's the right answer.
You know, I used to manage a lot of skateboarders. That was fun. I don't really, God, it's gonna sound so lame. I enjoy managing people. You know, I find that sometimes the people that are more troublesome are the more fun. The more, you know, there's a lot of the people that I work with are challenging. And and it's a 24/7 job, which, you know, is fine. But those are the ones I have the most fun with, and they are actors and writers and directors and musicians.
That's fantastic. I saw another hand over there.
Susan, this is based off something that you mentioned, but kind of a question for everybody. You said something about this strike potentially not lasting as long as the 07-08. With the DGA and SAG's contracts expiring in coming months, do you see that extending as well into potentially the rest of the year?
So I don't think it will last the rest of the year. I don't think it'll last the rest of the year. I just actually had this conversation today. Because the DGA and SAG and IATSE, all of their contracts come up, I think, in June.
July, I think.
If the writer's strike isn't settled by then, and my guess is it'll get settled by the 4th of July. If it's not settled by then, there will be a complete walkout. And everything will shut down, period. So I think that there's a lot of hope that it'll be settled in the next, I mean, the last one was what, 4 months? 5 months?
Like less than
100 days.
Yeah, there you go.
So that doesn't seem like a long time, but that's a long time. That's a long time. So that's part of that's my own opinion. The short part of it, that I don't think it's going to last that long. But the other part is, if it's not settled, yeah, everybody will walk. You think that?
I agree. Yeah, I think
everybody's gonna
the other unions on their contracts coming up are going to weigh heavy on this one, you know. And again, if the studios and streamers and so on don't step up, they're gonna be hurting. Yeah.
Well, I think the last strike too, the 07-08 strike. I mean, listen, negotiations are negotiations, and the whole point is to, you know, come together and find the solid ground. I think that concessions were probably made in the last one that probably shouldn't have happened, and people are angrier and more aggressive now, and some of those, they got to choose what hills to die on.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, that was great. If there's one more, we'll hit one. I see this.
Dana?
Yeah.
Oh, let me see.
Thank you.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm curious to know, for you guys in your career, do you have any obstacles that you've overcome that you're most proud of?
Oh, the big question.
You were in rock and roll. I gotta hear yours first.
Okay, I was in rock and roll. You know what? For me, and as much as this it seems so, you know what? Whatever. Being a woman as a man, being a woman in rock and roll, but being a woman in this business back then was probably one of the biggest obstacles I had to overcome. And then I think people realized. Well, I think people realize not to fuck with me. But so there's that.
That's what we want.
But that's for me, that was probably my biggest obstacle.
Yeah. That's good, yeah. I gotta say that to answer that question, I gotta give a little backstory to it. So look, I'm sitting up here. I don't have a formal education. I mean, I didn't go to college. I barely graduated high school. I had a family to support. But I took every job, every opportunity as a stepping stone to the next, and that's just the way that I've always lived my life. You know, I've been called scrappy. I've been called a hustler. I've heard that phrase, Jack of what is it?
Jack of all trades,
master of none. I wear that as a badge now. I'm proud of it because it used to be at that point when people would that was a way to put you down. But we live in such a time in this younger generation. You guys, you know. I grew up in the 80s, which is cool. I love this bar, by the way, because this is my childhood. You know, we played beyond the streetlights being on, and we scraped our knees. We were okay, and we didn't get participation awards. So, you know, all that made my skin thick, right? Mm-hmm. So getting into this business after I finally decided to get into it, you know, in my 30s, mind you, my first job, I was a PA on a film, a Canadian film I was shooting here in LA. And the director tosses his keys, 22-year-old director tosses his keys to me to go wash his car. That's a true story, you know, and then complains that I didn't get it washed right. But I smiled and I said, I'll take it right back and I'll be right back. Because I knew that was not my end-all, be-all. So, you know, my advice to overcome any hurdle in your life is why are you doing it? Because if it's for the fame, if it's for the popularity, if it's to walk a red carpet, if it's for the IG, then you are in the wrong business. Yeah. Don't do it. Save yourself the heartache and the heartbreak. So my biggest obstacle was when I finally decided to take a corporate job for a studio as head of their Latinx department. I found myself trying to fit into what the studio system wanted me to be and not being who I was, right? I had already earned my place at the table. I was already at the table. So I found myself, what's that term? Imposter syndrome, right? Yeah. And I quickly realized that those they were trying to tear me down within that company were threatened by me. And that's when I realized, because they needed this system to validate their lives. Yeah. I don't. And I won't get into my faith or my beliefs, but my identity is not in this role, is not in what I do for Nosotros. It is in me and what I do for my family and what my beliefs are. So I say that to say that was my major hurdle, was getting out of my own way. And not letting this control what, you know, get in my way in a negative way to where I was trying to be somebody I wasn't, you know. And I tell my son, I tell a lot of the people through our organization, we've all heard that saying that with great power comes great responsibility, but flip that. With great responsibility comes power. Take the responsibility for where you are in life right now. Don't make excuses for it. Don't blame other people for it. I am where I am because I did this or that. But as soon as you do that, it gives you the power to overcome any obstacle ahead of you. That's right. There you go.
Yeah, beautiful, man.
Amen to that.
Hey,
just to speak, just being an actor, an independent producer, and just coming out here 6 years ago, I think being able to come out of the hometown where you're from, move across country, move away from your family. A lot of us have done it in the town, but just to be able to sustain, you know, year after year, while you're trying to break in is just the it's always a never-ending obstacle, I feel like. Overcoming it month by month, year after year. And like Joel said, just for me personally, it was just getting out of my own way. You hear the saying, hey, you know, it is what it is. Life, it just is what it is. You know, it happens.
Very New York.
Bad stuff happens to you. It just is what it is. So I had that mentality, and being able to come here and adapt to a more proactive state, a more positive mindset to create, you know, the life I want to live was just, it's still every day. It's a daily work. And specifically, I could talk about one moment. I produced Death of a Salesman for the theater out here in 2019, and I acted in it. And I was working, I was a manager at a restaurant at the time. It was a spot in East Hollywood, dim lit red lights. It was a nice little date spot, and I was controlling the bar area, 6 seats and 8 tables. So I was running and gunning. Throughout that time, I was in pre-production for Death of a Salesman. I was, you know, busting ass at the day job, also producing, dealing with the marketing. I had the graphics person come on one of my shifts just to do the poster, and we spent the whole shift. I was like, hold on, let me just deliver this ranch real quick to this table, and then come back and then do the poster for the Death of a Salesman. And I remember one of the customers that came in, and God bless him, man. I told them that we were doing Death of a Salesman, And he's been in the town for a while, and he's been in for a few decades, and he was in the theater community. And when I told him that, I remember him kind of saying, well, oh, that's a big feat, I don't know if that's possible or whatever the case may be. But he really and I don't know, he probably wasn't aware of what he was saying. Before I moved out here, I probably would have took that and just been like, I guess that's it. I guess I can't do it. But being out here, on my own, luckily, and I'm blessed to have friends now that I've been able to create with. But at that moment, I told him, I was like, hey, man, come out to the show. He actually knew my mentors at the time that I produced it with. He knew them. So once I said who I was doing it with, there was a little bit of a shift in tone, like, oh, yeah. And then by the time, and I don't mean to, pat myself on the back or whatever, but at the end of the conversation, the tone shifted from, hey, good luck, kid. Good luck doing that, to, can I audition for the play? And I was like, yeah, man, absolutely. And thank God it was a production that cost like $20,000. So people were looking at us like we were crazy, because in theater you don't make money at all, and just breaking even is a success. And fortunately for us, we not only broke even, but we came in at like 21,000 something after the production was over. So I just say that because regardless of what anybody says, it's just them projecting themselves onto you, and that's all goody, but it's how you take and receive it, and not to be proactive, but not to be reactive, but proactive. And that's been a lot of the obstacles just in general, just doing the daily work every day to make myself a better version of myself, so that I could create value for myself and bring it to others.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll give my quick version of that. I actually came out here to work in hospitality. Somehow I figured out a way to actually work in hospitality, doing what I'm doing here tonight, throwing this event. But I couldn't get a job when I first came out here somehow, and it turned into me managing music artists and whatever that meant. And I had no idea. But in the meantime, my buddy comes up to me and he's like, hey, I want to make this movie. Would you want to be a part of it? And I was like, what would it take for me to be the executive producer? None of us had any idea what making a movie actually took. But he was like, $30,000 to be the executive producer. Next thing you know, we raised a significant amount more than that. And we were in pre-production. We didn't even call it pre-production. We were planning, budgeting, this, that, everything in between. And I still didn't even know what a C-stand was at this point at a table read. And
as most EPs don't know.
I really didn't know. I was moving it. I didn't even know what it was used for, or whatever. But yeah, so lo and behold, we figure out a way to get it funded, made. 25-day shoot. I was on set with 50 plus people at a time on my set, our set, I should say. I apologize, but it was a beautiful thing. That was my biggest obstacle. I didn't even know it was going to be an obstacle. That's the cool part, is figuring out where the obstacles are going to lead to. I didn't think I was going to be doing this. Didn't think I was going to start a podcast. 8 episodes released. We've shot a bunch. I have really cool people in my life that I've been able to partner with, work with, learn from, and move from. So I suggest you all do that the same. Thanks for that fun question, Dana.
I'd love to add to that. So I guess
Thank you.
the common theme here is there's clarity in why we're doing what we're doing. It goes back to what I said earlier. You got to have that clear why, guys. I don't want me to sound like Tim Robbins up here, whoever that guy is, right? But it's just it is a true fact that you need to know why you're doing something. Look, life is full of problems, solutions to problems. Warren Buffett has problems. A guy on the side of the street has problems. This Warren Buffett has better problems, right? So that's just, you have to think of it that way. So if you want to make this play happen, it's problems. One problem gets solved, it creates 2 others, but it's worth it. It's why you're doing it. Same thing with your film, raising that 30,000 and raising much more than that. And likewise with what we do, what her and I do here. So I think it just comes down to any obstacle is just an opportunity for you to solve it, but you need to know why you want to solve it. And if you don't really have that clear why, it's just a lot of people come into this business, man. I tell people it's like a pyramid, wide at the bottom, and it gets narrow and narrow to the top. Not that you want to reach for the top, but it's everybody wants to come to Hollywood. Everybody wants to be a producer. Everybody wants to be an actor. But why?
Yeah.
So I think that's the most important theme I think all of our stories have here.
Yeah, thank you, Joel.
I'm watching the Thundercats cartoon, by the way, too. So
No, but that's cool. We're gonna close out up here. I'm really grateful for you all coming. If the whole how this event initiated was for the podcast Who Is with Vinny Fiorenza. Thanks to Freddy. But I would love it if you guys subscribe. We're throwing these events, and we make a lot of great interviews. Hopefully, I could have you all on at some point in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, thank you for coming. Please take care of the bartenders. Have fun, and let's get drunk.
a shameless plug here.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
Nosotros, we do rooftop mixers every other month, specifically during the summer, and we throw one hell of a party during Hispanic Heritage Month, Salsa Night. So follow us on Instagram, Nosotros.org. Rooftop at the Ricardo Montalban Theater. Next one is mid-June. Don't quote me on the date, but it's mid-June. Cool. But this month in May, we also are launching Nosotros Talks. Think of it like a TED Talks, kind of what we're doing here, in a partnership with the Soho Warehouse. Guest list, I mean, there's a guest list open now through the Soho if you have a membership, but if you have a Nosotros membership, you can also RSVP. But it's also going to be streamed live that night as well. So it'll be a mixer with intimate conversation with 3 showrunners and show creators. So, and we do that every other month as well. So follow us at Nosotros.org on Instagram.
I'll speak for Susan. She won't want to, but she works at Bohemia Group. Let's follow them. You know, if we do everything there. We work together. Thank you for coming. This was a blast. Freddie.
And just real quick, thank you, brother Vinny, for having me and having us. We're going to be doing this. We're going to try to do this once a month, bring in industry guests, do a live podcast show. Thank y'all for coming out. We look to just bring on cool guests like we have, give some insights, tips, advice, all that good stuff, and then flip it into a party so that we can continue to connect and vibe and build with one another. So socks off. Let's have fun. Let's go to the bar. I'll see y'all in a bit. Thank you, Vinny.
All right,
God bless y'all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.